Hello, welcome back to my old house in Preston. And in a previous video I talked about how this beam here, which supports the front edge of the porch roof, at this location here next to the house, had dropped a little bit because the post that was originally there against the clapboards was removed, and there wasn't anything put back to support it. So you can see a little bit of the outline of where the post used to be on the wall supporting that little beam, and as a result that beam sagged, and you can see the crooked clapboards, and what I needed to do was fix that from the inside, and we'll go inside and take a look and I can show you how that worked. But I also wanted to show you the fact that I've got the old window installed where there used to be a door, and I'm going to zoom back here a little bit. I was able to find some old 5/4 board, which is 1 1/4 thick, and use it, which is in keeping with the 5/4 board trim that was used on the original windows. And in fact, this piece of trim is probably from something original, but I may in fact replace it because it needs a bit of repair. It's got mortises for shutters, it's got a lot of nail holes in it and chips and dings and so forth and so on, so I will probably replace this one because you can still get 5/4 board, and I have gotten some, and I have that installed with the window on the other side as well. So this worked out okay. It didn't take too long, probably in total about 3 hours to get that window in and set up, and it's going to have to be taken apart again, which is why I've attached some of the trim and the sill with screws, because I want to prime the wood and put down some adhesive flashing and before I finish off this. And wouldn't you know, when I went to sand the some of the wood here, my orbital sander's belt broke, so I've got that on order and should be here in a couple of days. But anyway, the point is that that end of that beam inside the house between the studs is now supported by a short piece of 2x10, which is screwed into the studs, and the window is installed. And we're going to go around to the other side of the house and look at the window over there as well, where I've also on the inside put the 2x10 between the studs to support the end of the beam here that's holding up the front edge of the porch. So bear with me, I walk around, and there you can see I've got the window. Those happen to be two new pieces on the left and the right of 5/4 inch trim board. They came pre-primed, so that's why they are white. But in keeping with the old trim scheme, and let me go back to the front window, you see that the trim is here on the sides of the window is approximately 4 1/8 inches wide. It's the 5/4 board, and the inside edge here is flush with the jamb. So that was the key measurement, to determine how wide the sill was going to be, because you see here at the bottom, the outside edge, the left edge of the trim, is flush with the sill, or conversely, the sill is flush with the outside edge, left side of the trim. Behind that trim is the sash pocket. Now, I won't be using sash weights anymore, so that'll all get stuffed with insulation. But in keeping with the fact that I used a complete old window assembly, including the jambs, I had to cover the space between the jamb and the rough opening stud. And so there is, in effect, a sash pocket behind this piece of trim, but again, there won't be any weights in it. It'll be filled with insulation. So you can see on this window here, this particular parting bead that keeps the outer sash or the upper sash in its track is a slightly different style than the older. It's not rounded like the older ones, but it'll suffice once it's all cleaned up. And that's just a thin strip of wood, so that can come off of the jamb piece, the window jamb inside there, and get refinished easily enough on a bench top. So that's the windows on the left and the right. So I have the old-timey look. Nobody would really know that these aren't originally windows, even though originally there were two doors, one here on the left side of the porch and one on the other side. I haven't put the top piece of trim in because all of these clapboards are going to be stripped off and replaced, and the reason for that is they are just too short. So between the edge of the trim and the edge of the clapboard, I'm about 2.5 inches shy of having complete coverage. So I'm going to take all of those off, and since I'm going to be re-siding the back of the house, I'll take some of the longer pieces of the siding on the back of the house and use them here. Or if there are any good ones there on the left, because they are longer, they will accommodate that dimension there. So if any of them are in decent enough shape when they're removed, they can be used over there. The point is that I'm going to use original clapboards here on the front of the house so I can get the same exposure, the same look, and of course at the top there'll be a piece of trim that goes across and in the same schema as the original trim, so that top piece of trim is wider. It's not 4 1/8 inches wide like the side trim, but it's 5.5 inches wide, and it'll overhang the left and right of the vertical trim by about 3/4 of an inch on each side. So that's the windows, and there's a shade in that window, and that's because they have a functioning powder room on the other side. So, and we'll go in and take a look at that. So it's a beautiful day today. Today is it's the 31st of August, 2023. It's about in the upper 70s, relatively low humidity, and here's a little quick view of my street and the houses they're on. You see the nice, beautiful blue sky. And again, my driveway's been graded, and the gravel is on order. And this weekend, it's going to be cool tomorrow here in Preston, the 1st of September. So it's a good day for digging, and I've got to dig a trench for my direct burial cable from my meter outlet to my garage and pole building. So I'm going to start digging that trench tomorrow when there's no threat of rain and relatively cool. So here we are inside. This is the powder room. And as you see, it is functioning toilet, shower, and the vanity will go here. But because it is the powder room, when I put in the window, I had a shade that fits perfectly. So over here, to the right, if the camera will adjust for the lighting, you can see that I have put in a piece of 2x10, and I'm going to zoom in, because above it, you just see the very end of the beam that holds up the front of the porch. I'm going to go to the window on the other side of the house and see if we can see it a little bit better, because here in this powder room and in the kitchen area I have lowered the ceiling a foot, so the framing for that is sort of in the way. But that 2x10 is very long screws, 4-inch screws into the stud on either side, and there's several screws, so that will be sufficient because there isn't that much weight on it. Maybe a couple hundred pounds, maybe 300 at the most. In any event, that's sufficient to support that. And so here we are on the dining room side of the porch, and there's the 2x10 there between the studs. And because the ceiling is still its 9-foot height, you can see the arrangement a little bit better. So there's the end of the beam. That is the support for the front edge of the porch roof. And instead of now resting on the clapboards, it now rests on that 2x10, which is securely fastened between the two studs there. So I don't have to worry about that. And even when I go to demolition or demolish the concrete, the rest of the concrete, and those metal poles out there, I don't have to worry about supporting this end of the porch roof, because it's supported by that 2x10 between the studs. So that's the other window from the inside. Again, this is not complete. I've got to take it apart again and prime and weatherize and put some adhesive flashing down and so forth. But it turned out pretty well. The window's plumb. And again, my scheme for the windows when they get all restored is that the upper sash will be fixed and the lower sash will be operable, but it'll be operated with spring clips should I need to keep the window in the open position. And then outside I will make storm windows and screens that'll get swapped out twice a year. Once in the spring, take the storms off, put the screens on, and once in the fall, take the screens off and put the storms on. Or have somebody to do it when I get too frail to be able to do it myself. But anyway, so one little note, I am going to, since I am using old windows and I don't want to destroy them, I'm going to leave the pulley in place for the sash cord. You won't see the one on the upper sash fixed. When the upper sash is fixed, you will see the one for the lower sash. Although the rope will be gone, the pulley will still be there, and I'll probably squirt some expanding foam inside that just to keep the insulation up to snuff. So that's it for the windows and the support of the porch roof, and I did get delivery on my insulation. So just today, as a matter of fact, and I have brought it all from inside. It was 4 large pallets. It's 120 sheets, 60 of the 1-inch foam and 60 of the 2-inch foam. A lot of it is upstairs, but a lot of it here is downstairs. So I will proceed in the next 2 weeks to get all of this installed, and then I've made contact with 4 drywall contractors, and I'm just waiting for their proposals. And then right after the installation, that will be inspected, and then the drywall will be installed. So hopefully before the end of September, in less than 30 days, I'll have walls in the house, and it'll start to look like a real house instead of an interminable construction project. Anyway, that's it for now. I hope you all have a good Labor Day. I'm going to have a good Labor Day because I'm going to be laboring. That's the way it is at this old house in Preston.